I'm ready.
And we are live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Bigfoot Odyssey's Researchers Report. It is number 100. I'm Kerry Arnold. With me, as always, producer and co-host of the report, Miss Daniela Aiello. How are you, dear?
I'm good, thank you. Not always, as always.
You missed the last
one time.
I know, you had us all worried. I was actually worried.
I know.
Our guests for this evening, two gentlemen that really need little introduction. Mr. Ron Morehead, everybody's heard the Sierra Sounds. I mean, come on. If you haven't heard the Sierra Sounds, then you're not into Bigfoot very much. But he's also has two books. Well, you got more than two books, but the two books that we're plugging today, Voices in the Wilderness and The Quantum Bigfoot. You can find those on Amazon. Excellent reads. If you're into Bigfoot at all, you need to check out those books. And also with us, creator of Mountain Beast Mysteries on YouTube. Don't do it right now, but as soon as this show is over, go to your YouTube search. If you haven't subscribed to Mountain Beast Mysteries, push that in there. The latest show you just came out with was this Saturday or Sunday, wasn't it, Justin? The Supernatural Sasquatch Part 2. Like I said,
yes,
I got
exactly.
through like 25 minutes of it. It's really good. I mean, Justin's a filmmaker. He puts together, great films. And Quest for the Wild Man Expedition, you're getting up there. You're getting pretty close. I just saw it's like 3,600 or something like that. But we're going to put a link to that for Justin's GoFundMe to do Quest for the Wild Man Expedition. So you guys can donate to that. All that's absolutely greatly appreciated, of course, by Justin. We support that 100%. Good to have you gentlemen here with us tonight.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Awesome. Like I said, we don't have a program. We're going to be taking questions throughout the entire show for these guys, but I'm just going to come up with some topics, and we're going to see what these two Bigfoot gentlemen think about them. So I figured we'd start with the first thing that always comes to my mind, or the first thing I want to ask people, is population. Everybody has their own idea of how many of these creatures must exist just in the lower 48, or we'll count Canada in there too. We'll say North America. Just how many of these creatures exist, or how many would be viable for a breeding population of something that apparently has no natural predator aside from us, I would think. So let's start with you, Ron. What do you think, man? How many of these creatures?
Well, according to Grover Krantz, the late Grover Krantz, he said there had to be at least 200 to have a breeding population. So I know there's got to be a lot more than that since he said that, because it's just people are seeing them quite often now.
Yeah.
So I suspect they are multiplying. I mean, we have evidence of that in our camp up there at Sierra Camp, because it was we've seen a little 9-foot track along with an 18-foot track. So they are breeding. So there are more of them happening. So yeah, there's probably a couple thousand of them here. That's just a wild guess because nobody knows. Yeah. We know there was one in 1967, don't we?
Well, aside from all the stuff that we don't know, I mean, there's too much that we don't know to really pin down a number like this, such as how long they live, lifespan, if they're like humans and can just, breed whenever, or they actually have a breeding season, things that we just don't know. But if you look at reports, I know you gentlemen have studied this probably as much as anybody has. Look, reports, the elusiveness of this creature, and those are the kind of things that I look at. Justin, what do you think, man?
Well, I should say that I'm more like a filmmaker than anything, and an amateur investigator. So I'm not a biologist, so I wouldn't be able to give you like an accurate number. But I would say probably anywhere from 1,000 to up to like maybe 8, 9, 10,000. If you spread that out across the entire Pacific Northwest and up to like Alaska, I mean, that's not a very big number when you spread it out like that.
I say 1 million. There has to be 1 million. I know, and people laugh when I say that, but I always come with the one I use and I've probably done this 1,000 times. The white-tailed deer argument that's my gauge for it. Because whenever people say, there's 60,000 Sasquatch, it's like, okay, how many white-tailed deer are there? And they always, just in the lower 48, how many white-tailed deer? I'm not talking about elk, moose, all the other, just white-tailed deer. And they hit me with a number, 2 million, 3 million. It's 10 times that. It's 30 million. So if there's 30 million, white-tailed deer is it's so hard to believe that there could be a million of these creatures out there with their elusiveness. You know, to me, it's not, but I mean, who knows? I've heard people say so many numbers, and there's really just no way we can possibly know. That's how I feel about it.
Well, just like you were saying, what you were saying there, Ron, like, you know, they are breeding. Well, that's like John Bindernagel. He had track casts in his house that were of like smaller specimens and juveniles, and you know, some of the casts were tiny. So there are young ones running around, and they must be breeding. So I don't know. There has to be a significant amount of specimens out there. I would say so. Anyways,
I do. I think it's significant. I just what I look at to me is the number of sightings. You know, and I don't think these creatures let themselves be known on purpose. Most of the time, it's usually an accident. Someone sees one crossing the road or something like that. And that's kind of what I look at here. I mean, I could be completely wrong. We all could be. The only thing I'm sure of is that they exist. That's all I know. So that being said, I know there are actual answers to these questions. Excuse me. Probably things that we'll never know. Someone argued with me. Sorry. Really argued with me. I was trying to think of a good word, but just would not stop. And it was via email. And I finally just quit responding to him about Sasquatch not eating meat. And I kept saying this on the show, and he kept coming back with more and more. How could that, maybe someone can correct me. How is it possible, Ron, for someone to know what these creatures don't eat if they don't eat meat? I mean, how could that possibly correct me if I'm wrong here?
No, I don't see how anybody could know that. I firmly believe they're omnivorous, just like we are. They can eat anything we do. Because I have the opinion that they are part human. So that being the case, and plus the food we left out up there, all the way from Spam to Jello, they'd eat it all. Jello's not meat, Spam is. So that's what right. They ate it. They took it. And yeah, we left out some bad meat one night just because we thought they were like a bear, would eat anything, you know, and found it buried the next morning with a big handprint over it.
That's actually incredible. That's actually pretty revealing. Well, you know, we've seen them. We know they eat dog food. You know, so many people have reported these things coming up the Gotros. You know, they had them coming into their backyard stealing their dog food. So I'm pretty sure that has meat in it. Like I said earlier, we're taking questions throughout the entire show from the chat. So you guys have a question, let's get it all in caps so Daniela can see that, and we'll put it out there. Justin,
the breeding thing is interesting. Is you know, how long do they stick together if they do stick together, or are they then are the young then pushed out, and are they interbreeding? How big a group will they become? Would they want to become if they need to stay hidden? Or do the families stay, you know, down in caves, and the big alphas go out and get the food and bring it back? It's hard to know, isn't it?
Well, according to Albert Osman, when he was captive for 6 days, supposedly, if you know that story, he said the woman would go out and gather whatever they was going to eat, which was greens at that time, and the man would watch him, where the kids just played, the two adolescents. So that was just his account. Who knows? I mean,
Moochalat Harry, remember that account? Moochalat Harry, you ever heard that one?
Yeah, I have.
He was kept for several days, and he said there was at least 20 where they had him. You know, when it got light enough, he could see, and he sees the big ones. They were all different sizes, male and female. The males, the bigger males, would be in the front, and then just behind them, the females, and then just behind them from him were the younger ones. Well, he looks around and he sees all these bones laying around everywhere, and he begins to freak out because he's afraid, you know,
there might be next bone.
Right. Yeah, but they're going to eat him. And you know, the one that I read and actually told was I think Ivan Sanderson interviewed the priest. It was once he escaped, he ran 12 miles. He ran past his camp. He's in his red long-handled underwear. He ran past his camp all the way down to his boat, rose 46 miles to this monastery, pretty much. And then, the priest takes over and tells the story that he stayed there to recover for 3 weeks, and his hair turns completely white in the process. And he said there was 20 of them, or at least 20 of these creatures standing around him. And it's just an incredible account. I've actually got it on the Shudder. If you're not subscribed to the Shudder, it's the new narration channel. I just put it out. It's the last video I just did. Muchalat Harry, and I did the Bowman story, which is one of the very few accounts that you'll hear where Sasquatch actually killed somebody. And, he breaks this guy's neck, one of these trappers, if it's true, Well,
I do believe they run in family groups. So, I mean, what I encountered in the Sierras was a family. In fact, I think there were 2 different families, one from 72 and possibly a different one from 74. There would seem to be a bit of change in the type of attitude they had from 72 and 71 into 74 when I had my encounter and started trying to communicate with them. But it was there was a family group there then. There were 3 of them that night. I'm sure there was a small one. We got a small voice on the recording. And then the mother, I think, was coming down on it. I think the small ones get curious and they start coming in closer. And that's when that samurai cry that everybody talks about, that's when that happened up behind me. And that's when I saw one streaking down through the trees there. And it just, he was going down to the other 2. And I think he was coming down on them for maybe messing around with us, because I don't know why they were messing with us up there, but they were. And
do you think they were just tolerating you guys up there? You think they were actually trying to make contact with you?
Oh, I think they were making contact with me. I mean, it's obvious. You hear that sounds. The questions that sound like the inflection on the vocalization was a question, and I just don't know what they were saying, but it was kind of exciting. I know that.
Did you record the 2 separate families, and did they sound similar?
Say that again. The what family?
Did you record the 2 separate? You thought there was 2 different families.
Yeah, and I yes. Well, because of the change, because in 74 when I was interacting with them more, you hear them. According to Scott Nelson, the cryptolinguist, he said he thought they were slowing their vocalizations down to possibly something we could understand. Because you could mimic that. I was trying to mimic what they were yelling out at me. Or in 71, 72, you couldn't duplicate those sounds. I mean, you just couldn't do it. And they were, I think, just maybe a different family group. I don't know. But I think some of the screams you hear at night, or sometimes maybe it's calling for a mate. Who knows? That's why I tell people I don't suggest screaming out at these things at night, because you don't know what you're calling in. Because they can be, I guess, some of them are aggressive, and some of them are benevolent. So you just don't want to. I don't think anyway. Broadcast these sounds that we recorded. I don't suggest it. I got hurt. In fact, the guy told me he did that, and he heard this crashing through the trees. It was a big bluff charge right at him. And just scared the heck out of him. That was the last time he broadcasted those sounds. You don't know what they're saying. We don't know what they're saying. We just know that it is a language by the human definition of language. Yeah. So that's kind of intriguing.
Definitely.
I don't think they're all the same. I've come out with that pretty much a lot lately. I tend to believe that aliens have been here. They are probably here now. People are seeing UFOs all the time. For someone to think that we're the only intelligent entity in the universe is pretty short-sighted, I think. And I've seen evidence in Peru and Bolivia and those places that I go to that not suggest, but I've seen the bones of something that isn't human. And you see that stuff, you see the megalithic structures that have been left by something that we couldn't do today. I mean, something really unusual. You see that stuff, and you know that something's been here that's got some kind of abilities that we don't recognize yet. And but then you see the petroglyphs on the Egyptian walls and all over the world, really, depicting a different type of beings. You know, a dog with a man's head or a man with a dog's head, or the other, something like that.
Nibus.
And you wonder if these advanced beings, and they have to be advanced to be shooting across space and getting into this Earth like they do, and traveling the speeds they must have to travel. They must be more advanced than what we are now. But we can manipulate DNA now, and if they've been doing that, like the Greek mythology says, and like history says, then you would have all kinds of creepy things running around.
And we have, it seems.
Apparently.
Well, we only see some of them.
Got a question for Justin. Sorry, I just want to get this before it disappears off the Kevin Jeffrey. Justin, a short 30 minutes east of Edmonton. Do you know of any sightings around here? Thank you.
I don't know about 30 minutes east of Edmonton, but in the Supernatural Sasquatch Part 1, that was 30 minutes west of Edmonton, which is, you know, an hour's difference, where the gentleman was having a lot of strange activity. He had visual sightings of the creature. There were tracks all over the place. So it wouldn't be like a big stretch to believe that there are these creatures in that area. I mean, if you go further further east of Edmonton and northeast into like Lac La Biche and that area, there's definitely been some reports up there. So there's a lot of pristine wilderness up there too, by Cold Lake and the air weapons range. So yeah.
Well,
also, I just wanted to say too, while I'm talking here, you were talking about like the diet before there, Kerry, about like meat, and the only way I think to like actually find out is to have that scat sample, you know, analyzed. That definitely comes from an unknown primate. Like if you have the scat sample, then you'll definitely know what it's eating because you can analyze that. But
right,
that's pretty much the only way you'll ever know.
Well, that or hair, I think that would show the protein necessary for a primate that large. We had scat sample that we felt was from one of these beings, so we sent it off. In those days, though, they didn't have DNA, and they just told us what it wasn't. They said it wasn't a bear, it wasn't a horse, it wasn't a deer, it wasn't any known animal. However, its needs or what it was eating was mostly berries at the time, but it has a need for protein, which would mean that they probably eat meat, in my mind anyway.
well, you would need more than one. Obviously, you'd need a series over. I would think over time, just simply because of what we don't know. We don't know what their metabolic rate is, how fast they process food, how much they need every day. You know, things like, I mean, they may, you know, eat constantly and crap 10 times a day. You know, if that's the case, are you going to be able to find, you know, traces of meat and things like that? But I mean, you're right. That would be the only way as far as, but how this guy would know that was my thing. He argued with me to.
Well,
you
you know, they could disagree.
It would also be a seasonal thing too in certain areas, in areas that get like significant snowfall. Like you won't see berries in the scat if it's in the dead of winter. So.
Right. Obviously, this is what I want to know, Justin. I want you to talk a little bit about your wildman expedition. I mean, we want to get people to help with this thing, and if you got it, GoFundMe is $5 minimum. If you got extra $5, which is a lot to ask anybody right now, go to the link is in the description for Justin's wildman expedition. I want you to talk a little bit about it. What's the plan here? What are you going to put together for us? As much as you want to give away.
Well, the plan is to do like an extended expedition. Like, I don't know. I've seen videos online of like behind the scenes clips of like BBC crews shooting like that Planet Earth documentary where the camera guys are literally hiding out in blinds for like 2 or 3 weeks to get one shot. Like, you need to do something like that where you're just in the spot for a prolonged period of time and just stay there. And obviously it has to be an area where you suspect they are, right? So
right,
basically just be out there and make a film series about it, documenting everything.
You have your location picked out and all that already?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And what? How long do you think you're gonna stay?
I would like to do a minimum of 2 weeks.
2 weeks? You gonna stay by yourself?
Yeah, like bare minimum by myself. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and you're not wrong. I mean, someone needs to do this. That's what we were going to try to do, is to go to Florida for a week with, 12 guys and, film continuously. But, the whole Corona thing shut us down, and we're gonna go back and try it again. But it's not going to be anything like I think what you're planning to do. Yours is going to be more of production. I think ours is just going to be a presentation, a series. It's kind of the way I planned on presenting. I thought about doing it movie style, but I don't think it would work as well as just doing it, and it's like a 7-part series. Excuse me. Sorry.
Probably work a lot better that way.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not a movie maker anymore.
How many do you plan on having? Justin.
Sorry. How many episodes?
How many participants? Yeah.
Oh, just myself.
Okay. Well, what about camera or camera gear? Are you taking all that in yourself?
I take it all in myself. The plan, probably will be to charter a helicopter flight so I can bring in enough gear and enough food. So I'm not gonna be able to carry enough food if I want to hike in. It's 25 kilometers to hike in, so it would be pretty much impossible. Unless you did it by horseback or something like that.
Are you gonna leave anybody your information where you are?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
Kind of important, just in case there's some bad ones up there, Just saying. We don't know.
Is this, this cave?
Yeah, the story is that there's supposed to be a cave hidden somewhere at the base of this mountain where we've been told they have been spotted and where they hide during the winter months. That's what the legend is basically, but we don't know precisely where the cave is, but we know the area, probably within a 2-kilometer radius of where it is. We just have to find it.
Well, the helicopter ought to give them a good heads up if they're listening.
Yeah, definitely.
So have you got thermal camera stuff? You're going to take that stuff out with you?
Well, if the GoFundMe is successful, yeah.
Okay, I see.
What we're trying to get. As far as what you asked for, it's close. Wow. We just got a super chat from Zach, Rooted Expeditions.
Excellent. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you so much, Zach. That's awesome. We'll I'll tell you what, we'll take we'll give you half of it, Justin.
I don't know what this is. I don't know what you're talking about right now.
Super chat. Someone donated $50 to Bigfoot Odyssey on the super chat here. If I can put it up. Yep, there it is. Boom. That's Zach from Rooted Expeditions.
Nice.
Yeah, well, back when we actually, were making money, we supported and donated to the fund, but we'll continue to do that. Anybody wants to donate the money right here, we'll make sure it gets over to Justin for sure. Thank you so much, Zach. Go subscribe to Rooted Expeditions right now. He's got some pretty good films up there. You can go check that out. All right, let's find another topic. What can we possibly talk about? Ron, I know you're a purveyor of these creatures being different from one another. I think we can pretty well assess that they're everywhere, at least in the lower 48. We know they're in Canada. They've been reported in every state except for Hawaii that I know of. So what do you think it is? Why do you think there's such of a vast difference from one place to another? Not the appearance, but the behavior.
Well, a couple things, Kerry. I think they've been here for eons, and I think some of them have crossbred into indigenous cultures and become more human-like than others. And also, I totally believe the aliens have been here. I've seen evidence of that. I think they could be here now, messing around with the DNAs. There could be a lot of abductions claims, and some of them may not have any human in them at all. Just because whatever we encountered up there, we don't know what it was to this day, other than had a Bigfoot and a big voice, and they were big. But are they the same as all the other ones? Like in the Patterson film, is that real? I mean, is that track that he left, or she left, Patty, is not even close to the type of track we have. We have these big splayed tracks, and this has been consistent over the years up there. The big 5-toed splayed prints. And they're not human-like at all, where the Patty is more narrow. And I just have a tendency to think that there were different types. And again, some of them may just have been diluted down from eons of crossbreeding, and some of them haven't been. That's where you get the 6 toes on some of them. I mean, I got a cast of 6 toes, not from our camp area, but from not too many miles away from it. Some Native American gave it to me. He cast 2 rights and 2 left by this pond where he's doing some spiritual meditation. And anyway, he showed me that, and it was huge, but it was splayed like ours. It had 6 toes, which suggests crossbreeding inside their own species, maybe. Maybe a little bit too close. That's what happens, I think. But then it's all subjective. I don't know. You know, it's just my guess.
Yeah,
I think
picture of one. So I mean, all we do is speculate here. But what we always and will always contend that it's important to do that. It's important as long as we're making the distinction. You know, we're not trying to put things out here that are facts. We're making the distinction. This is what I think. I believe it's important that we do that because it's all we got. If we're going to continue to keep interest and get people into the subject and into the discussion, we need to hear every theory, every even remote possibility. And then, you're getting into the quantum stuff. Ron, why don't you talk a little bit about that and resonant frequencies that we have talked about on here before? There seems to be. I
love it.
Yeah, I know. Well, I always thought it was just a ridiculous notion, and if I thought it, then probably someone else thought it. Until I got on here, then I started considering, because of the way you presented it. I thought, well, okay, maybe there's a possibility.
Well, so many people still think it's a woo-woo land or something like that. But if you really get into Tesla, you get into Einstein, and really the founder of quantum physics, which is Max Planck. He 1800s. He got a Nobel Prize in 1916 or 1919, I think it was, for quantum physics. And they established that's how everything really works. Newtonian physics, which we were all brought up to think is how everything works. Everything can be measured, predictable. That's not really true. Everything's not measurable and everything's not predictable. Quantum physics is uncertainty. And there's a lot to be said about all this. And I think that it's how everything, not I think, but physicists know that's how everything in the universe works. Everything. That's how everything works from the most minute level here on Earth up to the universe. And it's quantum physics. And really, it explains telepathy. It explains so many things. The different dimensions exist in the mathematical world of quantum physics. And we only live in 3. And when you get into how many really exist and what's going on throughout, we tend to live in a bubble, thinking this is all there is. But I have to ask, is everything that you see, is that all that exists? Does that mean it doesn't exist because you don't see it? What does it mean? Things exist that we don't see. We only see within frequency of light. And there's more. There's more going on. There's frequencies out here, there's frequencies out there, and vibrational frequency. Tesla said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, energy, frequency, and vibration. Learn those things and you'll know the secrets of the universe. Well, we all vibrate at the most minute level of our existence. We are energy. Everything is. And it vibrates at different frequencies. You find that frequency and you can change matter. And it's kind of really fun to think about because there's more going on than what meets our 3-dimensional brains. And yet we're not geared within our embodiment here to understand how you can imagine the end of the universe or how you can imagine something so finite it just goes on and on and on. There's only 2 places that physics falls apart, quantum physics, and that's at the event horizon, the black hole in the universe, and it's also at the most minute level of the freezing temperature. I forgot that freezing temperature, but it's like 400 and some odd degrees below zero. That's where physics falls apart. So you get into dimensions, and my book is bringing science and spirituality together, trying to, because if you think about it, dimensions and religious circles is heaven. And yet you got so many people over here that claim they go to church on Sunday. They think everything's fine. I'm a good person. I'm going to go to heaven. Well, a scientist over here will say there's other dimensions that you're going to go to because at the most minute level, like I say, we're energy. Energy, according to Stephen Hawking, cannot die. According to Einstein, it cannot die. So we are energy. So we will not die. It just goes on to change forms. That's basically, in a nutshell, how it starts out. But it goes further and further. I just don't want to lose anybody here. It's fun for me just because it's exciting.
Well, it is for some. I've thought so much about it till my brain hurt, and then
You can do that. Yeah, I can do that.
The deeper you go with it, the broader the possibilities. And then for me, I have to keep it inside just for now until we can get a little bit more information. I keep it inside that natural realm, and I'll leave all the big thinking to people like you that can go a little bit further with it. I want
to say one more thing.
Do it.
When they're in our three-dimensional environment, which a lot of them are, that's when they're seen. They have to live by our laws. If you're in this environment, you can die, you can get shot, you're hungry, you do everything like we do. It's just, that's how they're seen. But when you get out of our three-dimensional environment, things are different. Time is different. We live in a lineal, we think tomorrow's going to happen, yesterday happened. We're going through this like this, but that's not true in physics. Everything is in the now. It's hard to get your head around some of this stuff. I understand. And we can keep them in flesh and blood because they are flesh and blood when they're here. But I'm saying through their vocal mechanism, I think they're so expanded, they can probably create a frequency which is so high they can go outside of our perception. They can go into the fourth dimension of time, plasma field. That's where you see ghosts. That's where you see some of them evaporating through this time. You see this pixelated view a lot of people report. Well, how do you explain that? There is an explanation for all that in quantum physics. And I think they live in the fifth dimension. And according to physics, there's 11. I go there. And that's where I've come in all these 50 years of doing this, because there has to be an answer that's not in the woo land. And it's outside of what we can maybe put together with our heads. And I understand that. I understand why some people, I'm not downing anybody that doesn't believe that, but if you don't believe quantum physics, where are you? It's how everything works. That means you're not believing the physicists that have established it. You're not believing science, because that is science. It's just not classical science like Newtonian physics. It goes beyond that.
Right.
So
absolutely. It exists. It's there. I mean, proof. We're sitting here. Get down to the molecular, everything molecular. When it gets down to that, it's all quantum physics. What I have trouble with the whole thing is this creature. And why does it do the things that it does? Why would a creature that is apparently, as far as we're concerned, this beast monster, we know they're flesh and blood because we have their blood samples and we have their hair samples and all that. Not to say that they can't do these other things, but it's just so much of a why in my mind. Why would a creature like this, is it just maybe wanting a simple existence, but still having these abilities? How much they affect?
Well, I have to ask the question too, why would an alien want to be here? Why does anything want to be here besides us? If we are being visited by aliens, and I firmly believe that, why would they want? Because the earth has everything. It has the minerals, it's beautiful, it's got all the water, it's got everything. It's a gorgeous planet. And it's the jewel of this solar galaxy, solar system. It's a smaller one. And I think if they have been coming here, and there's pretty much evidence that they have been. In fact, that Commander Flavor, who just witnessed one and filmed it for the Navy, and now the Navy's come out acknowledging, there's UFOs out there. Well, okay, that should tell everybody something, but it seems that a lot of people still think we're the only intelligent life in the universe, and that's ridiculous. I think you have your head in the sand to believe that we're the only things going on. And anyway, it's just a bigger picture than most people. Most people believe they just live and die and that's it. Well, that's not it. There's more going on. There's more going on with us. There's more going on with them. Why would they want to be here? I think aliens are indoctrinating their species, whatever alien has been here, indoctrinating their species to perhaps get along with this environment.
Well, they seem to be a lot more suited to this environment than we are, for sure.
Well, I just wonder if anyone's got the virus. That's not funny. That's not funny.
Well, I know I can go out into the sun for an hour and look like a lobster, You know, there's a reason that I can't be out, you know, in the direct sunlight in the summertime. I'm not suited for it. You know, I don't have the melanin in my skin. I mean, these things, so that's just one example I can give of why we're not suited for this planet. That's all. And they appear to be.
Well, I think, Kerry, we were suited for this planet when we came about. I don't disbelieve in Darwin theory. I think we did evolve, everything evolved, but I think when man, Homo sapiens, became a certain development, that something created the sapience in us. Something made our DNA change to give us the sapience that we have, and Homo sapiens sapiens, that's what we are. Something has done that to other primates, possibly, and that's what I think Bigfoot could be. They've done it to animals, and that's what some of these, well, here we go, dogman could be, because I think that there's more going on than fits within our little bubble that we often live in.
You mentioned dogman. I want to know, Justin, I know you're not even 100%, you know, bought into the fact that Bigfoot exists. At least you weren't last time I talked to you. I know you've come quite a long way in your time looking into it. What about dogman? What do you think about this creature, man, that people are seeing, this dog-headed beast?
I don't know. I don't focus on that really at all. Right now I'm one step at a time and focusing on the big thing. And like, obviously with the Bigfoot stuff, I'm open to all the different theories. Talking about it being more than like a physical thing. I kind of said this in my last film. My theory is that if it is more than just like a flesh and blood being, it's maybe not choosing to appear in our reality. It might be just by its nature, it kind of exists in a state that's kind of in between. So sometimes it is here and sometimes it's not. And it's not a thing that it's choosing to do. Maybe it's just something it does by its nature. Like, that's how it exists, right? Like, I don't think it's a conscious decision, maybe.
Like maybe
I don't know, what do you think about that, Ron?
Maybe
Like,
there's some sort of like loophole it jumps through unintentionally.
well, just like a defense mechanism. It just happens
all
naturally or something. And they disappear. You know, I talk to people that see these creatures down in Florida, which is the reason we chose to do our expedition down there. And, you know, they're running through the bushes and sticking their face out and looking and hollering, screaming, knocking, all this good stuff. But when he got to actually see one, and he didn't even know what he was looking at, and it just kind of hit him that that's what he was looking at. He saw the eyes. But once he saw the eyes, he was able to see the hair. But it was, he said, Kerry, it's like it was alive. It was like it was moving. And I'm thinking, well, when people talk about this creature cloaking and being invisible, this has got to be what they're seeing. My contention is this, or my question is this. Let's say that's the case. Do you think it's possible that that's the switch that they turn on and off, Ron?
Yeah.
You think they can just turn it on and off?
I do. Well, some of them. I'm not sure all of them can do that. It's the plasma field. It's the cloaking, as you call it. I guess it's in the fourth dimension, I think, outside of our three-dimensional. And we only see within certain frequencies. Again, I got to bring that up because everything is frequency. And if you don't see within that frequency or hear within that frequency, you're not going to hear it. So like infrasound and ultrasound is in for our hearing. We have the same issue with our eyes. Animals see better than we do. Cameras can see better than we do. The camera lens will pick up orbs where we don't see them at all. And they're not a sub-spec on your camera either. I've seen orbs with a design in them up at Joe Hauser's place in the Montana Vortex. And he's got some very unusual things up there. I just talked to him for probably an hour today. It's just amazing stuff he's got going on at that vortex. But it takes you outside, and I've witnessed this. You see a tree, you think it's right there, but it's really over there. Well, it's the bending of light. And it's just strange. And there's just strange things it's hard to get your head around. Because we're taught and our brains are made to fill in all these spaces with what we know. If you haven't been taught some of this, it's hard to grasp it.
It is. And, you know, reality is perception. And to me, there's never been a more true statement than that. The way we perceive, like you say, our eyes, we see what we've adapted to to help us through.
Term for that is confabulation, I think.
There you go. What we needed to see to make it through our everyday life is how we've adapted, or call it evolved, whatever you want to do. That's what we're able to see. Certain, wavelengths of light, what we call visible light. But there's a lot more there than that. I mean, you made note of that. But that's not just all. With quantum physics, and you're talking about vibrations of certain things that are there and may not be there, and at sometimes, but sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. It's almost along the same vein as that. If you were to kind of equate the two and think of it that way, as far as matter is concerned, these things can be there or they cannot be there. The question to me is it a conscious decision? Justin just alluded to it not being, that there's something that this happens to them. Like I said, maybe a defense mechanism. You think it's a conscious choice that these creatures move in and out of this other reality?
It might not even be like a defense mechanism. It might just be that's how they exist. Like they might just slip in and out. Like, I don't know. It could be a weird frequency or something.
Well, I think also, Justin, they toy with us. They think that, well, we think that we're the top of the food chain here, but we're screwing up this earth. I mean, bluntly, we're messing things up, and they're not. And I think, I don't want to be, I'm not a tree grabber or nothing like that, or hugger, that's what you call them. But there's things that these things do that are just outside flesh and blood's ability, at least the flesh and blood that I'm aware of. They are flesh and blood. I mean, they make their sounds, they poop, they eat, they do all the stuff that we do, but I think that's only when they're in our body. And I've been told by somebody, they probably have more than 2 vocal cords. Because Dr. Curlin, Professor Curlin, who did our study for a year long up at the University of Wyoming, he said their vocal range is above ours, it's in ours, and it's below ours. And the scope of their vocal range, we don't really know because we don't know how high they go. Our little cassette recorders back in those days just didn't get to that stuff. But if they can make frequencies that are so high, if you take just a sound, just a piano sound, and you can put so many octaves to it, get it so high, it stops being a sound, it turns into light. And that's a physics thing. It's just a fact. And if you can get a frequency that goes above high enough, you change into light. And of course, that's supposedly what we're all supposed to turn into someday, as a light being, outside. So which means our frequency got to get a lot higher than what it is now. Also, that'll keep you from getting sick.
So is there any equipment that we can use to tune into those different frequencies outside of the normal sort of radio frequencies and stuff that we have?
I'm sure there is. I don't have any, but I'm sure there is. I know that I've been told by people who've been listening to my sounds, very credible people, that it's just way outside of what humans can do. And if they can make those frequencies high enough, I'd love to be able to record that and get the frequency. Then maybe we could disappear, huh? Well, I've talked to too many people over the years. I used to think when people said they disappeared there in Lululand or something, because I was flesh and blood only for a long time. I knew there was some enigmas attached to these things, but I didn't realize what science could be behind it until I started studying quantum physics. And you get into that and you just realize that's a possibility. That's how it could happen. The visibility thing just goes out of our perception because we only see within certain, light is a wave or a particle, depends on when it's observed. It's a wave until it's observed, then it collapses into a particle, which is matter. That's hard to get your head around, but that's Copenhagen or Schrodinger's cat. If you ever hear that, you ever read a book on quantum physics, you'll hear one about Schrodinger's cat, how they can break a wave and it breaks into either particle. It's all an observation now. So nothing's real until it's observed. I'm talking too much probably, but I talked to a head physicist in Southern California one time at a big university at a private party, face to face. I said, what do you think about quantum physics? And he looked at me and he just smiled. He said, nothing's real. Do we live in a matrix? What are we living in if nothing's real? We make our reality with our thoughts, and that's hard to understand too. We think a lot of people think they're just subject to what falls into their life the next day, but one way or the other, we're making those things happen. And I also believe in multiple embodiments, so there's karmas to be given out. I don't think these things are really supposed to interfere with us, because I think we have to make our own decisions. We have to get out there and respond to what we're supposed to respond to. And I'm taking up the whole show here, so.
Very deep, isn't it?
That's fine. That's fine. Squash in Alabama, $5 super chat. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. That was a pretty cool little picture you had there too. Yeah, and we got questions. I thought I saw a question we had here for
I'll go back up and look. But I mean, you know, if you can imagine, you know, for anyone who finds this all really, I mean, I find it really hard to understand. I tried to follow it, and you can only do it in little bits and pieces. But like for the regular people, if you imagine listening to a radio, just because you tuned into one doesn't mean to say that the other channels aren't there. We're just not tuned into it. You know, you pick your one station, but the other ones are still broadcasting. So I guess, you know, there is stuff going out there, even on a day-to-day level, that we're not picking up on, but it is there, you know.
It's that resonant frequency thing. Andy gone fishing. So are y'all suggesting that Squatch use some sort of technology to stay hidden from us? I don't know. I don't think that's the suggestion.
A type of technology? No, there is technology that will hide us, like these cloaking blankets the military has. But that's not what they're using, I don't think. I think they have an advanced frequency, really, that they can tune in or tune out.
Manipulate things with their vocal cords.
I believe that, just because I've heard sounds that you just know there's no accounting for them in our thinking. And you hear that.
Jimmy Park, he's heard.
Yeah, he was on my my channel, and
the one that I heard, that's what I said. It sounded like multiple vocal cords. It just didn't sound like something, and I've been saying that for 2 years. It sounded like something with a high tone and a low tone together, like demonic is the way I could describe it. Is not that I thought it was a demon or anything. I didn't want people to get the wrong idea, because some people did when I said that. What I meant is it belongs in the movie The Exorcist, something you would hear like that. It's kind of that. It's such a strange, creepy, totally unnerving tone to listen to, because I heard it, and I heard it for a good 10 or 15 seconds. And it was very creepy. Do we have another super chat that I missed?
Fair enough, yeah. $15. Thank you.
Awesome.
It's going very quick tonight. You've got it.
Thank you, Britfoot, for that. We appreciate that very much. Hey, if anybody got an extra $5, go to link in the description, Quest for the Wild Man, and donate there. Justin, he's getting close. We want to see that film.
Definitely going to happen.
When do you think that's going to take place, Justin? This summer? Or?
Oh, yeah, for sure. This summer, yeah. The earlier, the better.
No, that was the next question I was going to put out there from Kevin Jeffrey. What time of year are you going to go out? So
yeah, it'll be this summer, probably June or July.
What about the whole Corona thing, man? How up there where you are? How are people responding to it up there? By staying in?
Yeah, for the most part, people are staying in. They have all the parks closed down, like national parks and everything. However, like the areas I go to aren't in national parks, so I can still drive out there and go exploring.
Yeah, they completely shut us down here for sure. Stephanie Vaughn, $7 super chat. Thank you so much, Stephanie. We appreciate that very much. Everybody that throws in here. So YouTube takes their portion of it, but hey, we still appreciate that. I know I saw some other questions here.
Yeah. Yeah, Malcolm asked about 3 times about, did your dad have an encounter, Justin? A Bigfoot encounter?
Yeah, he had a rock throwing experience back, like, that was a while ago now, probably like 10 years ago, over 10 years ago. And that was on Vancouver Island. He was fishing on a lake with his friend, and they were in an inflatable boat. And while they were setting up the inflatable boat, before they actually got on the water, they heard a loud splash in the water. And they immediately thought it was a rock, but they weren't like certain at first until they got on the water and they were fishing for like 15 minutes. And then all of a sudden, a big rock, probably like the size of a large watermelon, comes flying out of the bushes, it hit a spruce tree and bent it over and then plopped in the water. And my dad had a perfect view of it, and he saw it like flying out of the bush. So he was already a believer in Sasquatch, so that's what he, determined it to be. But it's
what else throws rocks? You know?
Exactly. I mean, you could argue that it fell off of a cliff and then like bounced, I guess, into the lake, but that's not exactly what happened. So
yeah, it'd have to be more than one. If you think that would happen, it'd have to be more than one rock in that place. And you'd think you would hear something like that falling from any distance. Here we got.
Plus,
we got this. I know, Justin. I know you know Brandon. You gonna take one shotgun with lots of shells, or will you take a little extra? You gonna be?
I don't know yet. Probably just a pump action.
That's better than nothing.
Pump action full of slugs.
Slugs.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I take into Canada when I go.
Yeah.
Shotgun with slugs.
Anything that you would think would stop a bear, I guess, because that's probably what you're gonna have to worry about more than anything, don't you think?
Yes.
Cougars, possibly.
Definitely. The area where I want to go in is full of bears. Like, it's crazy.
What about wolves? A pack of wolves, they'll get you, won't they? I don't know.
There's lots of wolves out there. People always say that wolves don't attack human beings. Well, that's a lie. I know someone personally who was attacked by a wolf while they were on the fire line doing like wildfire. So
Put anything past a hungry animal.
Justin, have you considered taking one other person with you just because you need cooperation of what happens and also the safety of two people? One guy watching the other guy's back.
Yeah, I've definitely considered it. The hard part is finding someone with the same amount of time that you have to dedicate to it, who is actually willing to be out there that long.
Well, putting a shout out then for anyone.
You'll have a lot of emails now.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a million emails.
Well, you know what we've got one more of these to give away. And I think Justin, I think you'll get a good use out of this. This is a Sony 4K. It's waterproof video camera. It comes with a shoulder mount. It's an action cam. Yeah, we had 7 of them. We didn't need, but we plan on giving them away anyway to people that were going to actually use them. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to we gave the last one to Zach from Rooted Expeditions.
Is that with the watch?
Yeah, it's got a watch that comes with it, so you can actually look at the screen and see where this thing is pointing. But I'm going to send you some of the backup battery banks. Also, you can hook up to this, put a 256 gig card in it, and record for 10 hours straight. So,
wow,
that
I would really appreciate that.
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, we were going to give it away anyway. We might as well give it. Somebody's going to get some good use out of it. That'll be one less camera you got to get, for your
totally
for your expedition.
Justin, do you have a way to charge your batteries up there?
I do. Yeah, I have I have these battery banks that have built-in solar panels, and you can pretty much charge every camera battery that I have. So
this is what I got right here. I think I've got 17 of these things left, and you can see it gives you a digital readout of how much percentage is left, and it's 20,100 milliamp hours. So you can actually take this and hook it to that and just go, let it roll. We'll send 2 of those with that also. Just message me and send me your address so I can get that out to you.
Nice. Jimmy Barr again. What model is the Sony camera, and does it record sound? Yes, it does record sound. It is it's an FDR 3000R. Yeah. Yes, they have the FDR 3000 and the 3000R. The R is the one that comes with the watch. They're about $600. You can get the full package, and then you can get the battery banks for like $60 a piece, and then
The shoulder harnesses were like $40. So you can get the full setup for about $800 and film 10 hours straight. And then really all you got to do, swap out the card, swap out the battery bank, and continue filming. It'd be something good. You could set up static, to watch your camp or whatever. You just take that strap, instead of putting it on your shoulder, strap it to a tree, point it in one direction, and this could B-roll anyway.
Yeah, totally.
The mouth of
It'd
the
be cool
cave.
to-
That's what you want to film. The mouth of that
Yeah.
cave. What's coming
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be cool to have like a 360-degree camera mounted while you're hiking. Just be filming all around you while you're walking through the bush.
Have you tried the 360s?
I haven't.
Well, I'm gonna tell you.
One day I would like to tackle it.
If you do it, and when you go to edit, it's so much harder to splice in that 360 footage with your regular 4K or even your 1080p when you have them together.
Yeah.
There's a certain frame rate, bit rate you'd have to film at, that you need to film at to make it work well. I was talking to Scott about that. It's such a hassle. If you're doing just 360, it's okay. But when you go to putting your 4K in and in your 1080p, unless it's all in the same bit rate, it doesn't work well together. So just a little FYI there for you're doing your 360 stuff. All right, where are we?
We'll figure it out.
We're almost a full hour into here.
I'm just going through the chat, seeing if I've missed any questions.
Just wanted to have on, the best guest that I could think of. Wes Germer, I sent him. He was going to show up. He may still show up. We got Brent and Don coming. They're going to show up for the second hour. And we've got the Blue Line Bigfoot guys. I just want to kind of thank them. It's our 100th show. They've been a part of this since our 29th episode. I think our 18th episode. They were part of the show. I just want to kind of thank those guys for doing their thing with this. This is you're only going to get the show on Wednesdays now. We're not doing 2 days a week. We're only doing Wednesdays. We drop Saturday, but not to frets. For those of you that looked forward to it, especially, Daniela has picked up the slack. Go to Hidden Existence and subscribe. Danielle's going to be doing the show on Saturday, the same thing you would normally get here, just like a researcher's report. But Danielle's going to be doing it there. And I think, who's your guest this Saturday?
I've got a special guest this Saturday.
Yes, she has a special guest this Saturday. I quit doing Saturdays, and I'm going to be her guest. We're just changing up the format there a little bit. But
just everything's crazy in the world.
Sorry, I have a question for you. Are you familiar with Dr. Stephen Greer and his work on the ET stuff?
Who are you talking to?
Stephen Greer. He
No,
does
talking
I'm talking to Ron.
I'm talking to you, Ron.
A little bit. What's the question?
Well, they do those retreats, and they go out into the woods and do like meditation work and whatnot, and they have quite the collection of like photographic and video evidence of strange like light anomalies and things like that. And a lot of the stuff that they capture kind of reminds me of things that you experienced at your site that are kind of strange, but not maybe necessarily Bigfoot related.
Yeah, it just seems like they happened when these things were around making their sounds. The lights, the orbs, big lights sometimes, and big sounds that couldn't identify the source. It seems like they have. Sometimes you think you would. Again, I said earlier, I think they toy with us because I think one time we thought we was hearing a herd of horses coming at our camp, and no, it wasn't happening. And I think I mentioned before too that I thought I heard a car door slam outside our shelter. I remember our shelter's 8 miles in the wilderness, no trails right to it really, and 8,400 feet in elevation. And there's things you hear up there. Big humming sounds, metallic sounds sometimes, and you can't put a finger on it. So I think it's got something to do. A lot of this stuff happens in the evening time when, what the Schumann resonance is. It's the frequency of the earth. It slows its vibration down at a certain time at night. And our vibration kind of gets that way too. It slows down. And when we get into alpha state of awareness, that's where you're not analyzing things. You're just being. And that's what meditation is. You get into alpha, then you go into the theta state of sleep, which is kind of lucid sleeping sometimes, but the delta state is the deep sleep. But Tesla got a lot of his answers from the theta state. You come out and sometimes you know the answer to a problem you might have been working on the whole day before. I think a lot of the people have things happen to them during the night because of the frequency of the earth, the frequency that they're at. And I think it's easier for these beings, whatever they are, to deal with you and to mess with you. And they do mess with you. And I can tell you that because you get up there, and that's why I think you need someone to help you just cooperate. And if you can find someone you trust, not just to do that. You need someone to look over your shoulder and to carry you out or whatever in case something happens. But it's not a wise thing to be by yourself. A lot of that stuff, you got bear, you got all kinds of things to concern yourself with, and you don't have anybody look at your back. And I've been up at our camp by myself, and it's not fun at all. And you've probably been out by yourself already before, but still, you get out there and you want to know, did that crack really happen, or did I imagine it? And if you don't have somebody with you, you don't know where to put it. I mean, I was by myself in 2011 when I heard this chattering going on. I know it was Bigfoot chatter. I've heard it before. Heard something tromping around right outside my area there at our camp, and you're by yourself. And if I didn't write things down, I wouldn't have had it because my recorder's batteries went dead, and yet one of them was out there. And so I write about that in my Voices of Awareness book. I couldn't record it, but I heard this metallic sound going on about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'd explain that way up there. There's nobody up there. You can't get there with a vehicle. You can't even get there with a motorcycle, I don't think. Well, I'm sure you couldn't. Well, I shouldn't say I'm sure, but it's just really an imposing place to get to. So I just recommend trying to find someone you trust to go up there with you.
Right.
You don't want David Pilates writing about you.
Do you experience that a lot, like weird things happening to electronics and your batteries being drained and
Yes.
like that?
Yeah, we did. And Scott Nelson did too. Crypto linguist we took up there. He was trying to get some more corroborative sounds, and he had a lot of his batteries, just new batteries, just going dead. And I think there's definitely something going on with energy in these things. And it goes back eons. If you listen to Native American culture and all that, they say they live in trees. Well, if they can change their matter into energy, which I think somehow they could do that, and I think it's through frequency, there's nothing to say that they don't go into a tree because it's just energy. And that may be how they recharge. I don't know, but you hear a lot of sightings along electrical places, where things are happening like that. And I don't know if there's any power up there where you're at or not, but anyway.
Certainly does explain a lot. If it's true.
If it's true, we got to say it. If it's true. All this is my theory, Some of it I experienced. So you theorize how it happened.
Right. Well, I mean, that's all any of us have, our theories. And I've always contended, even if you were studying a group of Sasquatch and you're actually watching them and filming them for 20 years, would you know anything more about the species, or would you just know about this particular group? That's what I said. You talk about batteries draining from things. You hear more about that up in the Pacific Northwest and places like that than you do in, say, like the Southeast. I haven't heard a lot of that. I talked to Mark and Melanie Zansky. They go out all the time, and I asked him, have you had that happen to you, batteries drained? And he said, no, not really, not any more than normal. So I just wonder, I have heard a whole lot of accounts, but most of the ones you do hear are from that area. So is it a regional thing, or is it a different species up there? What did Melby Ketchum say about the location of the DNA, that they were older up there, right? I think she did say that.
I'm not sure what she said about that. I don't know. So,
all right. There.
Let's talk about eye shine. Some people say they're like illuminating.
Oh yeah, the owls. That's right.
Have you heard anything about that, Ron? What do you think about that?
I've heard about it. We look at where they were. I've never seen eye shine. We've seen them occasionally, very rarely, but you'd get a glimpse of them. Eye shine, no, not for us. But then I've heard different stories about eye shine and how it can change depending on what they're doing. If they're fixed to transfer into another dimension, or if that happens, their eyes might be different, might glow. I've heard about the cones of light. And there is a biological reason that can happen. When they have a cone shining out of white light, it means they collected more light because their eyes are bigger. Dr. Fehrenbach said if their eyes were 4 times bigger than ours, they would have better night vision. That means a lot of animals see good at night. That's because they can collect light in their cones and protrude it out at night. There's a good account of that I read on BFRO, I think, years ago, about this guy that was watching this beam of light coming down a trail, and it was a Bigfoot. When it got closer to him, he just was frozen, just watching it, just walked right by him with this cone of light coming out of his eyes. And that's enough to scare you a little bit. I got something out of a freaky movie or something, but that's what some of them can do. I think they collect light and they can do that. Of course, it also gives them away.
Yeah.
The self-illuminating eyes. I kind of had a theory about that myself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at things like glowworms and fireflies, where they get this illumination from is from a particular rotting log, a rotting, I don't know what kind of wood it is, but you can see it in the woods sometimes. We're going through and you see this glowing on the ground. It's this decaying wood. Well, they eat that, and that's how they get this thing. So my contention is this: what if some of these creatures have been eating this same wood for so long, and then it just became an adaptation that they're using, that this is being used in their eyes? I mean, how much more would they be able to see if this were true? Like, it's the same way night vision works. If they had this self-illumination in their eyes, they'd be able to see in pitch black just like it was daytime, producing their own light. So I thought that was how it could be possible if this was happening. Of course, you hear different colors: green, red, glowing eyes, which could be a vascular thing, the red glowing part of it. But I've heard that so many times, especially, in places like Nebraska when we went there, seeing with no light source, eyes glowing in the woods. And I don't know, to me, that's how that sounded plausible, was through their diet. That way some of them would have it possibly, and some of them wouldn't have it. Too many questions, not enough answers. Phosphorus, is that it? It's watching Alabama. That may be exactly what I was trying to think of. Phosphorus in the wood. All right, where are we at? We have a good crowd in here. So good. I wish I had a whole lot of stuff to talk about, but I don't.
But there's 273 here. We've got 114 likes. I don't know if this is possible, but everyone just go and press the like button now.
Everybody,
right now. If you can get 273 likes.
Go hit that thumbs up. Hit the thumbs down. It does the same thing.
Yeah, anyone, up or down, just do it.
I do it all the time on my own show. But ever since I started the SHUDDER, the narration channel, I don't do that. I don't hit the thumbs down to everybody, because it was like 0 for a long time. I had 10 videos out there and nobody had a thumbs down. And then I made one guy mad, and I went back and every single video I have one. So yeah, it ends up being a personal thing. It's not that they don't like what you're doing; they just don't like you, meaning me.
Ron, you've been doing some like webinars, or you've done one last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing any more?
I do another one tomorrow.
Okay.
And another one I got on my calendar. I don't know, but I can schedule quite a lot of those. And it's similar to this. They can see you, and it's so easy to do this type of stuff nowadays, especially with this virus going around. That's what a lot of conventions are going to this. And I did that. One with Scott Nelson here a week or 2 ago, and just him and I on language. And that was well received. It was good because he gave his analogy or his methodology, I guess is a better way to put it, on how I transcribed the language that's in those sounds that we recorded.
So how do people get to join it if they want to?
Well, they can just click on a link, and I'm not even sure which one, what the link is right now. The one I'm going to be on
Facebook. Is it on Facebook?
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, I usually, if I see them, I'll share it onto my Facebook page.
Okay.
I should have done this one, but I didn't see it in time, Kerry.
Well, if you send it to me tonight, I'll put a link in the description.
Oh, is this going to be? Is this pre-recorded?
No, it's going live now. But I'll still, if you send me the link or when you have it, I'll put it in, and then if anybody watches it tonight onwards.
Yeah, we'll make sure you get that link in the description for sure. There's going to be plenty of links in the description, so you guys go and check out ronmorehead.com. Ron's books we're going to have in there. Justin's GoFundMe. We want to make sure he gets this out there to do this film. What else are we going to have? The Shudder, Hidden Existence. We push a lot of stuff here.
What's your goal, Justin, for an amount that you need?
I was just going for 5,000 just to cover my time out there, basically.
Mm-hmm. And equipment.
Yeah, I do have a lot of equipment already. There's just some items that would be nice, like thermal and stuff like that. Night vision.
Well, last I looked, you were at 3645. So no, another 1365. You've reached your goal. Of course, if you go over your goal, they even that much better. So it's not.
They might cover the helicopter.
Yeah, exactly. That's the #1 cost, I think, is getting a lift in there.
Yeah.
So,
is there a pack station?
Sorry?
I was going to ask you if there's a pack station that could haul you in there and come get you.
Maybe.
Or then they'd know where you were. So this way you only have to kill the helicopter pilot.
Well, there's actually a company that's located pretty close to the area that does helicopter flights and stuff. So it wouldn't be that much fuel. So it's nice and close. Probably only a 15 to 20 minute flight.
Smooth Landing's got a question. That's for you, Justin. What stories have you heard about the cave that you're headed to?
The only stories I've heard is that people have actually seen them near the entrance of the cave, and all people have seen them through the whole actually like valley, like that you would travel through to get to the cave. And also they say that the cave is full of bones of whatever animals these things feasted upon. So that would be, I think, the most interesting thing to look at is the bones and see if there's like
absolutely
scratch marks and teeth marks and things like that.
I think it's going to be awesome.
Or if I'm human bones, that would be the big thing I'd look for.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at Ron's face and he's just going, "Don't go alone. Don't go alone."
Terrible idea.
It's just not
Jamie Barr wants to know, what's the panel's thoughts on three-toed prints? What do you think about those three-toed guys there, Ron?
Well, he lost a couple toes somewhere along the line. Either that or maybe the bear trap. I don't know. All the ones we've seen up there had 5 toes. All the prints, we've seen lots of them. 5 toes, splayed, very splayed, and very big. A lot of them were huge. In fact, too big to even.
There's a tribe in South Africa they call the ostrich people, and a lot of them have 3 toes. Some are 2, like crab claw 2, but a lot of them are 3-toed, and it's from inbreeding.
Yeah.
So,
same with 6 toes, I think. That's what happens.
Yeah,
so
even have extra toes. But I think that's if that's one of these creatures leaving that, I would contend that it's probably genetic inbreeding, possibly. Oh, wait a minute. We got Muhammad CH $5 super chat, super sticker. Thank you, Muhammad. We appreciate that very much. I think if everybody here takes $5 and goes and donates to Justin's GoFundMe, you'll have your full fund there, buddy, for sure.
I don't think it'll be much longer before that thing's done.
Awesome. Well, everybody needs to go check out your latest video you just put out. It was either Sunday or Monday it came out. The Supernatural Sasquatch Part 2. That's available on YouTube, and that's on Mountain Beast Mysteries. If you haven't subscribed to Mountain Beast Mysteries, you need to go and do that as soon as this is over. Don't go do it right now.
Just put the link
Don't
up there.
forget.
We got another question here. Here's one from Hod. Does anyone think Sasquatch hair could have color and also semi-transparent properties to allow them to camouflage when any in their proximity? Do you think it could possibly be a hair thing, Ron?
You know, Shane Land just came out with a book. In fact, I wrote the forward to it. It talks about that very thing, and so does Todd Neese. He's got that theory that possibly their hair has some qualities to it that would cause this reflection of light, and it's worth a read if people get a hold of it. Yeah, I mean, cuttlefish, squid, octopus, they all have the camouflage ability. I'm a diver, and I've seen those things underwater. You don't even see them unless you get right next to them, scare them off, then you see some fly away.
All right.
The octopus, are amazing.
Chromatophores.
Huh?
Chromatophores is what that is. They have chromatophores in their skin. They're able to change.
Oh, yeah. They have 3 different layers, I think it is.
Well, I've always contended when it comes to Sasquatch hair that it's a possibility that it absorbs and doesn't reflect light at all. That's why I think it's so hard to see sometimes. And then when it comes down to trail cameras and game cameras, infrared light is still light. It's a beam of light, and that light has to be broken and bounced back before that camera is going to go off. Well, if these creatures' hair absorb and don't reflect, they could walk in front of a camera all day long and it's not going to go off. So that's kind of what I contended about the game cam and not getting a lot of good game cam pics, is I think they walk in front of them all the time. The camera's just not going off. And one of the best evidences that I saw for this is Survivor Man Les Stroud had a video up. He had this, it was a tree, and he had some apples stuck on it. In one frame, you see the apple there, a bug or something would fly by and the camera would come on. And then the next couple of frames or whatever, the camera comes back on and it's gone. It's just disappeared completely. And the only thing that made sense to me was whatever came up there was able to just go through there and not trip the camera. And the hair having that property, to me, would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Good theory.
Thanks.
Never know.
Linda?
Oh, welcome. I still think I've talked to too many people now that have seen them cloaking, and I'm incredible people that saw them just dematerial, like the heat wave on a hot pavement or something. Just they watch them, and all of a sudden that just happens. So how they do that is on my theory you've heard. So it's just who knows? I don't know that all of them can do the same thing. I think different ones have different attributes. So
right.
That's my opinion.
I think that myself. All right.
Someone just emailed me a question for Ron. Do you believe in mind speak? Kevin Saunders.
Yeah, that's called quantum entanglement. I think they can do that because I think we can all do that. There's telepathy. It's just, yeah. They can if you have the right frequency going on with you. It's all up to you, a lot of it. Where they're going to connect with you or not is up to them. Their time, their place. It's not our choices. And you get into a hot area, you just got to relax and not. I would suggest that to you, Justin, because just relax, have fun with it, because you're going to be in a pristine spot probably, and that'll get more attention from these things if they're around than anything. It's just you're being one with the earth, so to speak. Just be vanilla.
What are you going to do, Justin, if you start hearing these guys talking to you in your head?
Probably going to go mad. I don't know. I've always thought about that, like how I would react if something like that happened. I mean, Daniela, you had Leon on your show recently. I saw he's a believer that it's people just having really strong thoughts, basically, and interpreting it as mind speak. But like, it's something I don't know. I'm not going to be able to say I'm a believer in it right until I experience it firsthand. But if it happens, I guess I'll believe it. I don't know. I don't want to.
Well, you won't know that it happens. You won't know if it's your own thought or if it's something else. That's the problem you got. It's right there trying to figure out, was that my idea or did it come from something else? Always try to, what was I thinking about could have caused that, if anything. Of course, I don't know that I've ever had mind speak. I just know that I do feel through physics that it's totally available to anybody just because of who we are as human beings. I think we're very special on this earth. I've mentioned this before. Our species is very special on this earth, but we're screwing it up, like I said before, too. And these things aren't. So some of them say they're here to help us. Well, maybe that's the mind speak. They're trying to tell you to go right instead of left, or they're telling you something. But then there's bad ones out there too. There's a dark side to this whole thing. So I think
if they tell me to leave, I'll probably pack up and leave. That's probably what I'll do.
How do you know that's not your own fear?
There you go. Depends on what they're saying.
What I had happen to me up there one time was me and Warren Johnson. We were both there together, and we heard this thing mouthing off out there behind one of these trees. By then, we were getting kind of bold. I think that was 1972, and we thought, well, we'll run out there right quick because they weren't eating us. They hadn't carried us away and hadn't attacked our shelter or nothing. So we ran out there and started walking up to this tree where we thought this thing had to be behind. We was going to see it run off, right? Well, nothing was running off, and all of a sudden we just got stopped. I mean, like a force field, and I relate that in my book. And it's just like, that's how I describe it. It's just you couldn't go any further forward. I explained that to a scientist sometime later, and he said, we don't deal with fear, and we don't deal with your emotions. You got to have facts. And I said, we weren't afraid. You know, we've been afraid, or we wouldn't walked up there. We've been afraid. It wasn't fear at all. It was something else stopped us. He suggested it was either pheromones or infrasound. So at that time, I thought, well, these things are animals, so it must be infrasound because that does affect people, as we know. Sound that you don't hear, but you feel something. Hitler used that in the Second World War to control people. But pheromones only works within the same species. So at the time, I thought, well, it has to be infrasound. But now that I think they are part human, and I do think that some of them, and it could have been pheromones, but who knows? Something stopped us. It happened to me one more time out in the woods when I was up there. I wasn't even thinking about Bigfoot. Just all of a sudden, bam, I got stopped. And the hair standing up on your back. Well, what's going on inside your head at that time? Are you imagining this stuff, or did it really happen? And some of this stuff, it really happened. And how do you explain that unless it's through some type of ability they have, which is who knows? I think they do a lot of things that we're capable of. We're just not reaching that part of our evolution yet. We haven't learned how to really get through to what we were really made of, what we are as people, as humans, what we were to start with before we ever started tripping ourselves over things, and how we're screwing things up now. I'm talking too much again. I'm getting hungry.
We've bogged ourselves down with our cell phone and our regular, our TV and our car and our regular day-to-day life. Much we've gone so far away from. We don't think about survival. It's not a regular day-to-day, for us. Is how are we going to survive the next 3 or 4 days? It's never on anybody's mind anymore. Not anywhere. Anyone that I know, anyway.
Unless you got the COVID-19.
Well, yeah.
That's not funny.
Well, I mean,
the guy said he just dodged COVID-19.
I hate that it's here and then it's taking some people out for sure, but I think the flu's taking just as many people as this thing has.
I wonder if Sasquatch is wondering where all the hunters are and where all the people are. I wonder if this is having any sort of.
They're out there living it up.
Yeah, they could be. They could be start moving in closer, or I don't know. They could be missing the interaction. I don't know.
I think they do it already. I think they sit and watch us. Just even if you live in town, they just sit there on the edge and watch you.
Well, I think when they're in, let me get into my quantum stuff here, but if they're in the other dimension, time is not relevant to them like it is to us. They can pop in and pop out. And if that's happening, then they can follow you home. They can be where you are at any time. That's, I think, happened to me. It's happened to my daughter. It's happened to a lot of people I've talked to where all of a sudden, same thing that happened to them 100 miles away in the woods happened to them at their home. And that's a weird thing. but that has happened to me. So I think there's something going on spiritually, I should say. I'll say spiritually instead of quantum physics. It might make more people tune into it here. Because to me, spirituality and quantum physics is synonymous. You think about how religions have taught, and I'm not saying religion is all right, because a lot of people fell away from religion just because of they couldn't fall into that box that religion had them put into. But spirituality, whether we like it or not, is who we are. And that's what doesn't ever die. And that's quantum physics too. In fact, Tesla said, well, one man calls God, another man calls quantum physics. And that's a good saying.
All right.
Meditate, Ron. Do you meditate?
I do every morning. I think that's important. We got to decalcify our pineal gland, and that's what's inside. That's our third eye. And if you can eat the right foods, we don't really eat healthy, and meditate, because meditation is where you're just relaxed in that alpha state of awareness, where you're not asleep but you're not awake. You're ready to receive, and that's where mind speak can come in. But prayer is when you're asking for something. There's a difference. And I like to get into the meditative state and just be still.
Might start trying that. And a lot, you talk about eating right. A big part of eating right is knowing what to eat.
Yeah. Thank goodness my wife's a nutritionist, so she's got it all figured out.
My wife's a registered nurse. The only thing I get from her is, I know how to take you out and I know how to bring you back.
I think my dad said that to me one time.
Yeah.
No, I knew how to break. I brought you in. I can take you out. Bill Cosby said that, I think.
He tells me that a lot. I can take you out and bring you back. Bring you back, but I can take you out. I think he's here, actually.
Here we go. CMOS. CMOS decalcifies.
Pardon me?
CMOS, apparently.
CMOS.
There you go.
Oh, a lot of foods will. Just don't. What you don't eat is more important than what you eat. I think all our foods have been processed so much, so you got to get the non-GMO and organic. We could deal with that exclusively, and don't use fluoride in your toothpaste. Get the non-fluoride toothpaste, because fluoride is the big culprit in water and in toothpaste and in different things. Fluoride. Stay away from that, and you can eventually get better, and you'll, like I say, get into that alpha state of awareness, the second stage down. We're in the beta state now, the highest form where we're communicating like we are with conscious thinking. Just got to get out and get into the receiving state of alpha and into the theta state.
Well, cool. Well, look who we have backstage. Let's go ahead and see what in the world these guys are doing. The Blue Line Bigfoot guys, Jake and Adam. How are you guys doing? What's up?
Guys, it's just a pleasure to be here with you. We're trying to stay safely, socially distant, as well as just being prepared for this is the first time me and Jake hung out together in, close quarters. We're doing the best we can to be safe. And we're just enjoying the show. Number 100, guys. Hey, congratulations. Number 100.
Well, I just want to say thank you to you gentlemen who've been a big part of this show since our 18th episode. You guys, we did Blue Line Wednesday every other Wednesday for the last 80 shows. So I want to thank you guys for that, for just being a part of it with us, and all you've contributed, the time that you've put in to it, and all the production stuff that you've done, all the ideas. You did something different. I think it got to be a thing that was that people didn't really catch on to for a while, that you guys were always doing something a little bit different every week. And of course we caught on to it. We didn't know what you were doing. We were always surprised, but we do thank you guys for being here with us and contributing. And we'll definitely have to do another Blue Line Wednesday pretty soon. Absolutely.
That sounds great. That's awesome for you to recognize that, say that, especially in front of everybody. Hey, Barry, God, I cried over here through this shield.
I see the tears.
Blue Line Wednesday has always been a fun time, and we got into that. We did this little thing called the
What
It's called the Bobbler,
what?
Kerry.
Yeah,
The Blue Line
the
Bobbler.
game. That's right.
And I thought it would be appropriate, actually, it was Jake's idea to break it back out and give her a little spin. See what number. We got 8 great questions for you guys. We'll see what one that comes on. We'll ask you a question, and then, Jake, what's at stake here?
Hey, I think if you guys get the answer to this question correct, you could win yourself one of these BLB. I mean, I hate to be
They look
well,
good. They look good. They do. I mean,
They do. I have one myself.
you know,
awesome.
Me too.
You got both. That's awesome.
I kind of feel weird. I mean, geez Louise, you guys. All right.
Guys, we are open for business. You see the sign? We're not kidding. We're open for business. We're going to give this thing a spin. Dick, are you ready?
Give it a spin. Let's go.
Oh, it's spinning good tonight, too. Question number 4, Jake.
Oh,
That's rigged.
oh. Wood Booger Farms would agree. I concur. I think Adam had his thumb on the
magnetic back here.
Okay, so well, all right. Well, actually, this might create a bit of controversy, but which episode did the BLB first appear on in the researcher's report?
Oh, I might have given
what
them.
it is.
Well, we
don't
have done
know.
our homework. We've done our homework. We have the data.
You got to numbers don't lie, Kerry, my man. They don't lie.
If we
You're
want
right.
to go back and look at things, we have 16 Blue Line Wednesdays. I think this episode number 100 is our 19th appearance here on your show, and we can't thank you guys enough. But there is one number.
Is it
No, you got to go lower, Mr. Tappy. I'm sorry. No, lower than that, Moby.
18? Oh,
Good. That was close.
You know,
But that ain't quite right.
I mean, we've done the research.
5.
We
Higher.
have the data higher.
Higher.
You
Come
gotta
on,
go.
guys. Do it.
There's no thermometer like the Squatchathon episode or the Spook Week episode number 7 we
Lower.
were blessed to be a part of.
Lower.
You guys,
Lower.
no lower, Diane.
Lower.
I'm sorry.
Higher.
What?
Who's your squad?
You're so
Higher.
close.
Come on. You
I
guys can
can't
do it.
believe this.
Higher than 11, baby.
What? I'm sorry.
Lower.
Okay.
Lower.
Now this is becoming
Lower.
a fiasco.
Number 8.
No,
Way higher.
no.
Higher than 7. Higher than 11.
Well,
I think I gave it away earlier.
Lower. Lower. 12. Whoa.
who's your squatch?
I think it's the Scottish Wild Man.
Hoosier look like you put it up there.
If anyone wants to dispute it, hang on, Bomber.
Yeah, okay.
Got a lot of
Well,
good
it
ones.
was called Camping Turns into an Episode Nightmare. I'm not sure, but our first appearance, thanks to who we call the Godfather, Mr. Kerry Arnold out there. Come on now. You brought us into this world. You come on. It was episode 12, wasn't it?
Episode 12.
Number 12. Our first appearance, and man, thank you so much for having us on in the beginning and right now. It's awesome.
Thank you guys for showing up, and we'll see. I don't know whoever got that can email you guys at BlueLine Bigfoot. Let's see.
BlueLineBigfoot@gmail.com. Brand new. No one's ever worn it before, actually.
It's COVID free. It's COVID free. It is from New York, though. And
You can wrap it up and little spray it down and stuff.
keep
put
it
it
in
in
the
Ziploc.
keep it in the garage for a week.
Yeah,
You
quarantine
got
it for a week before you touch it, and then you're good to go. Throw it in a wash it up quick. Maybe give it a little. What would you think? A dryer would be what, Jake? Would be that high heat whites or low tumble dry? What do you think?
Oh, I always do tumble dry low.
Tumble dry low,
Tumble
guys.
dry low.
Don't forget that. That's an important part.
Well, look, thank you guys for showing up for sure. We appreciate it. And Bomber, who won that?
Bomber.
Bomber can email you guys at bluelinebigfoot@gmail.com and get that shirt. Thanks again, Adam.
Great show.
Awesome.
Great show. It was great.
I'll call you.
You guys are all great. Thanks for the awesome work. The show's been so much fun tonight. Everybody, great guests tonight. Just having a great time sitting back here in Thrains, all quarantined out, watching it. It's been awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you,
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good night.
We'll be watching. You guys have a good night too. Thank you.
Will do.
Bye.
Hey, we got those guys, and we have Brent and Don. We're going to show up. I don't know they got the link or not, but definitely they've been a real big part of this show, and especially taking over for me so many times when I couldn't be here. So Daniela, how many of these shows have you missed?
One.
Number 99.
Plus we did 12 days of Christmas.
Yeah, well, that don't count.
And we did 8 days of Halloween. How many have you missed, Kerry?
15, probably. 15, I would say.
15. Only 15.
I've missed a lot more than you have, for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I was covered.
Yeah.
I think Don has probably done 5 or 6 he's covered for me. And we wanted to do a special 2-hour show here tonight. I wanted to have, these awesome gentlemen on here tonight for sure. Wes Germer, he was going to show up. I guess he decided he had better things to do, which is understandable.
He might yet.
Yeah, he still might. That's possible. I think we had a little confusion about inviting Brent and Don, who was going to send that link, but you got it sent to them, correct?
I've got it sent now, yeah. So hopefully
they'll show on up here pretty soon. I was kind of hoping Linda would make an appearance, just to say,
I might do.
You're in your pajamas. I don't think anybody cares. You're wearing something, right? Just come say hello. Just come say hello. You have been a part of this also.
I've been working, so everybody has to understand I look like crap.
Nope, you look beautiful.
Hi.
Guys, I've been working, so I didn't want to.
Well, thank you for coming to tell everybody hello for our 102-hour 100 show special. So
That Daniela has not missed nowhere near what you have missed.
she's only missed one.
Yeah,
And that was Saturday. She missed our last Saturday show. She missed it on purpose.
Just fell asleep.
I told him you were asleep.
Yeah, we were worried about her. We were definitely worried about her. But thank you.
Still crazy, Chris. Put your question back up again because I've lost it now. I'm sorry. I think I had a question.
Here, it's not moving.
There's so many questions. It's going so quick. It's hard to.
Mine froze. Let me see if I can find it.
Skybird. Ron, do you think Bigfoot will be put in the zoo when they are captured?
No, I don't think they'll be captured like that. And once they do capture them, they're going to discover something pretty unique. And that's my opinion. I don't think that a zoo can hold them, number one, no more than Livermore. Livermore could hold them in the Livermore lab in the days when, what's his name was there? Stephen Hawkins. That's another story altogether. But they claim they had 2 of them. They couldn't hold them. They didn't break out. They just walked out.
Right.
Just say there's a lot of story there, but it's all pretty much in the cracks of Bigfootology.
Well, if and when this creature is ever validated, I just think there's going to be a ton of litigation involved in just the logging industry. I mean, you just think about what PETA would do if they find out this creature does exist. It's been validated. You're not there.
The great gray owl, when they was trying to I really hurt the timber industry back in the days. In California, when the great gray owl was discovered and they stopped the timbering in that whole area. It'll really make a big difference if they establish the being as a viable part of the forest.
Well, they're hard enough to find.
What's that?
They're hard enough to find as it is.
There's a reason for that, and there's a way they do that too.
Tract of land. All somebody's got to do is say, "Hey, I saw a Bigfoot out there," and they're gonna take them to court, shut it down, say, hey, this is Bigfoot habitat. You can't log this. And then what? You know, then of course, there's not a lot less logging going on now than there was 100 years ago. You know, there's a lot more trees now than there were back then. But
there's something going on with trees in these beans too. They don't like it when we cut the trees down. And there's something to be said about trees and these things. So keep everybody's flag up on that one.
Bill Lucero, that's a good question right there. Justin, have you investigated much of the First Nation people's lore about these creatures? They don't call it lore, though.
Most of the, well, it's, I guess, history to them. But
mythology.
Most of the stuff I've looked into are legends and stories that have come out of the Dene First Nations up in the Northwest Territories, like way northern Canada. They have like lots of reports of Sasquatch-like creatures, but then they have there's like a weird variety of cryptids that they have up there. Some of them are more like the classic, just hair-covered primate, and then some of them are very strange, where they report beings that are Bigfoot-like, but they may be wearing like makeshift clothing, or they may be more spiritual things, beings kind of like the Wendigo. And there's a lot of very interesting lore that comes out of that area. But
Daniela,
it's something I would like to look more into, especially out on the West Coast, on like Vancouver Island. There's a lot of like, it's all First Nations tales out there. So.
I didn't want to interrupt you, Justin, but about 25 seconds ago, I think Barney showed up. An orb went right by you, Daniela. It was like really prevalent.
Oh, right.
Yeah, we had that happen once. I think it was the day after Barney, your dog Barney, you had to have him put to sleep.
Yeah.
A little orb showed up. I know I just saw it. I'm sure people saw it too. Go back about 30-45 seconds from right now, and you'll see this orb go by. Daniela said, that's Barney. He had to come for the 100th show. That's what I'm going to say anyway. That was definitely something.
I'm going to have a look now. I'm looking now.
I don't think it was a dust ball. I think we'd see a lot more dust balls going behind you there if that's what it was. It was just so smooth. It just went straight up. It's kind of cool, actually. I wonder if anybody else saw that but me. Somebody help me out here. Yeah, look, boom. Zach saw it. Oh, wait.
I'm looking now. My dog's making that silly noise again. Hang on.
All right. Well, we got, 15 minutes left. What happened to Brent and Don? We just completely lose them? Did they just not feel like showing up?
I think I sent the thing too late because I thought you'd sent it.
Well, they do start their show here just a little bit, but if they don't show up, I want to thank Brent and Don for their contributions to our show here. And if you haven't, they have a 2-hour show tonight. As soon as this is over, you can go straight there. Paranormal Portal. Most of you guys are subscribed to Paranormal Portal already. But I'm going to go and check out their show tonight from the Shudder channel. So just want to thank Brent Thomas and Don Longbeard for their contributions to the Researchers Report for the last 100 shows. Brent's taken over for me on the show, hosting at least 5 or 6 times that I know of. I didn't really trust anybody else to do it but him. So thank you, Brent, if you're watching, and thank you, Don. We appreciate you guys very much.
Just messaged me, but hang on.
What do you say? Forget y'all ain't coming? Whatever, Kerry.
I'd say come on quick if you can.
Yeah, it would be cool. Let's see. Here's a question right here.
There is this one that Zach's asked about 5 trillion times, so I need to put it up now.
Tactics. Your plan of attack, Justin. Tactics. What are you planning?
Other than like the first order of business is to try and find the cave, just so I can explore it to a degree. I mean, I don't want to go in there really by myself without the proper equipment, because apparently, according to the people who discovered it, it's a pretty substantial cave. Like, it's not a small cave system. It's quite large, and you never know when you're going to fall down a 100-foot shaft. So I don't know. The first order of business is to find the cave and then basically just exist out in that area for a prolonged period of time and let them get used to me if they're out there and to come in and mess with me. Just to have a camp kind of like what you have, Ron, at your site, where you would just wait it out, I guess.
I think it's going to work. I do. Here we go.
I hope so.
Watch Rivera's got a question. Ron, can you speak on the horse behavior in the camp?
Sure can. If they did not, a bear will cause the horses and mules to get all excited and stomp and paw and everything. But when these things were around, these things were just like frozen, and that's a lot of people think that'd be unusual, but that's what they did. They would just point their ears directly towards where the sound was coming from. They wouldn't be frightened at all. There's times when we went out walking in the daytime, we come back and find Bigfoot tracks around our horses. So we feel like they were looking at our horses, messing with them while we were out, but we know they were. And also they mess with you. Got a lot of stories like that, with things they've done. But yeah, the horses were calm really when these things were around, and these sounds were huge. I mean, the sounds would frighten anybody, but it didn't seem to frighten the horses or mules for some reason. Don't know why. Where a bear, we got a lot of bear up there. They come around and horses go crazy.
Well, look who decided to show up, man. I'm sorry. You know, we had a little bit of confusion there. Daniela thought I sent you the link, and I thought she sent you the link since she's the producer and all that.
Well, you know, I just like to make my entrance fashionable and late, so there I am. But happy 100 to Bigfoot Odyssey. This is awesome.
Well,
the researchers report.
Thank you so much. I just want to say thank you personally, because you have been a big part of this show. You've taken over for me a number of times when I couldn't be there, and I just thank you for doing that. Absolutely, you didn't have to. Of course, I couldn't think of anybody else that I trusted to do it, and that's just the truth. I mean, I could think of plenty other people, but nobody else that I trusted to do it the way you did it, man. I just want to say thank you for that, and thank you for coming on here. Is Don there with you?
No, you know, I just ran in here quick. We've actually got to launch our show in about 10 minutes as well, but I just wanted to run on and just say hello and give you guys our love. But no, Don's not on.
Okay, well, just tell him that we mentioned him, and we want to thank him too for everything. And we'll see you in about 12 or 13 minutes. Paranormal Portal. Make sure you go and subscribe to Paranormal Portal. Live show there, 2-hour show there tonight. I'm going to be there with the Shudder channel, and Brent's going to actually plug my Shudder channel for me tonight, aren't you, Brent?
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't think of anything I'd love to do more than that.
Shameless.
And a special hello to Ron. How you doing, brother? It's great to see you again.
Great. Thank you.
We got to get you back over there too. And Justin, hello, sir. It's nice to meet you.
You as well. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. It just, you know, it's one of those days that I'm literally hit the ground running, so I'm still trying to catch up with myself, but which is an unending quest in itself. But no, I really appreciate you guys letting me come on and being a part of tonight. I'm sorry it was late, but I'm just honored as always, and I've always been honored to be a part of this show. It was where I met Ron, actually, and Ron has been a guest on our show as well, and it's just phenomenal. The amount of people that have been a part of Bigfoot Odyssey and have taken part in it. And it's a great show, surrounded by great people, and you've got amazing listeners as well. So it was really cool for me to be a part of that.
Well, we thank you for sure. Absolutely. And if I ever get to go back to work again, I may call on you again.
That's a date. All right, brother.
Where's Brad? I need him.
I will be there for you, I promise. But
real quick, Brent.
Yeah.
Before you go,
yeah,
not rushing you off. Give us a best of moment hosting Bigfoot Odyssey Researchers Report. Favorite part.
I of course have always loved working with Daniela. She's just a wonderful person and a dear friend. So that was a lot of great times that we had together, and me screwing up everybody's names. But I think the peak was actually meeting Ron. I had been a fan of Ron for a long time, so actually getting a chance to actually meet him in your absence was really awesome.
There's a reason he's here for 100. And,
Oh,
and
well, thank you guys.
I had to go back and think what were my favorite shows, and it was Ron, Justin, and Wes Germer. So the ones that I actually watched the entire thing after it was over. I went back and watched the whole thing. So very cool. So we appreciate you guys definitely showing up here tonight for that. We still got about 10 minutes. You guys have managed to hold on the entire show. That's awesome. We appreciate that for sure.
I just want to say thanks, Brent.
Yes, thank you guys.
Sorry, I was just tapping away at someone in the.
Nobody's listening to you, Danielle.
Whatever.
All right, love you guys. We'll see you later.
All right,
See you
brother.
later. Bye.
Bye, Brandon. Thank you.
Well,
let me just clear this up. Sorry, still crazy Chris. He put a question up and it disappeared. I asked him to say it again and he put it again and I wasn't watching and it's gone and it's upset and we've done it to him lots of time.
that's her.
We haven't. We're just her.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Mr. Chris,
It's nothing personal. It's just everything's moving so quick.
it is moving fast, actually. We have a lot of people typing in. Yeah, we can control that. Choose not to. So sorry.
They disappear so quick off here. We're not in YouTube. We're in StreamYard, so we can only scroll back so far. But anyway, sorry about that.
Yeah, Miss Chris, if you can put it up again, I'll find it. We still got a few minutes here.
We have.
And Justin, you said you're gonna stay for 2 weeks out there, right?
Yeah.
You know, try to make it 2 weeks. What
At least, yeah.
I mean, do you plan on fishing or anything like that? You're just gonna bring all your food with you, like just dry stuff?
I was definitely gonna bring everything with me. I'm not gonna rely on primitive skills. I mean, there's no time for that. Like all that stuff's cool and fun to practice, like bushcraft and primitive stuff. But then by the time you're done doing all that, you haven't done any investigating at all.
Right.
So.
Fair enough. That's definitely a good point. I just saw someone had that question here and rather than just grab it and pull it out there, I just figured I'd ask. We actually came up with some pretty good food ideas when we were doing our little expedition.
There were some good recipes coming out of there.
Yeah, the whatever it was. I don't even want to say what it is now.
No.
No, it was called. What was it called?
Jailbait soup or something like that.
No, that's what I called it.
Jailhouse soup.
Jailhouse stew, I think.
Yeah.
I called it jailbait soup.
Jailbait soup.
That was, I don't know. It was in the moment. Yeah.
I'll swatch Australia once. Ron to go over to Australia.
When the skies open.
When the skies are
Actually, that was one of my plans to get into Australia when I had this production company trying to work with me. And Blue Mountains over there's got a lot of intriguing things. Actually, I'll be on a program with them. Somebody over there. Sorry, I don't have my calendar in front of me, so but I'm scheduled to be on an interview over there shortly. And I'd like to go to Australia. I will go to Australia, I think, if things turn out. Problem with the production companies when they get with you and try to film you, they are spending all this money on you and they want to control everything you say. And my heart goes out to these guys who are caught up in these things, and they get a lot of what they say goes on the editing room floor. And you probably know what I'm talking about, Justin, because if you don't do it yourself and don't finance it yourself, you're not going to be able to put out there what you want. Production companies just they don't work with you. I mean, they work with you, but you don't realize they can film you for 2 weeks and come back and what you said wasn't the way you said it. They take things out of context. They put what they want in there to sell what they think the demographic needs or what they think the History Channel's after, the Animal Planet. I know some of those guys have been on those, and this last one I just got through with here, I said, no, I'm going to be the executive producer, and I'm going to have something to say so, or I'm not going to do it. That usually cuts them out right there because they don't trust what you're going to say to be sellable, you know?
Right.
So
They essentially just use your notoriety to push their
well,
narrative.
yeah, I had one company that was going to take me all around the world, you know, checking into Nepal and China and all these places looking for Bigfoot with a crew. And, you know, that's not what I'm going to do. I don't even want to do that. I said, why would you want to do that? Let's stay here in the Pacific Northwest where all this stuff is happening right now. And, you know, and that was one of my first things years ago. And I learned from that one. I've learned from a few others after that. So I've really never done one except with David Paulides when I let him and his cameraman go up to our camp in 2018, July of 2018. And they put that out on their Missing 411, The Hunted, or The Hunted. Missing 411, The Hunted. Yeah, I mean, I got an episode about 15 minutes long in that. So it talks about the Sierra camp. He filmed the Sierra camp, what it takes to get in there, and asked me some questions up there. And he did a good job on it. But that's the only one I've ever taken up there to film it. Only professional job that's ever done.
I just got Miss Chris's question. She texted it to me.
Oh.
So we got it. She said, ask Ron, how long do you think these creatures live? What kind of lifespan do you think they have? Do you think they would have a long one or a short one?
Well, it depends on which ones you're talking about. If you're talking about the ones that are interdimensional, when they get out of our three-dimensional environment into the fifth dimension, if that's where they go, time doesn't exist as we know it. And that's been established by the astronauts spinning in space. In fact, I write about this in my book. If you traveled at 99% of the speed of light out in space for 1 year, when you come back to Earth, 227 years will have passed.
Right.
Time's not like we think it is. And everything's in the now, really, when you get it outside of the space-time continuum. There's so many different things that we need to understand. And a lot of it involves these beings. I've heard they live over 100 years, but how does anyone know if they're outside, if they can be in the mass state of our three-dimensional environment, which they do. They a lot of them love it, so they be here. But if they go out, their time stops for them, and they can come back in another time if they can transfer their energy back into mass through their frequency. It's all a guess. I mean, if we're just going to go with a biological creature that's the way they start, that's the way they're going to end, they probably live like a human does, maybe longer because of the constraints of what we put into our system by the environment and what they do. You know, they live naturally. So I would say, 60, 70, 80 years if they're just a natural biological being.
Yeah, that's kind of what I would contend is, that, all the other stuff aside, just the naturalistic aspect of this creature, I'd say they live like we do. Maybe even longer than that. I think these white Sasquatch that people see are just old Bigfoot. They turn gray, just like I'm turning gray here. It's coming, Joe. I know you're a young guy still, but
who you talk to?
Justin. No, you're there with it. This is
Justin's got the black beard. Yeah.
I pulled out a couple white hairs the other day, man. I don't know.
Oh no!
Don't fight it. Don't fight it. It just, you can't fight it.
Not ready. I'm not ready yet.
This is the last 5 years. I was 42. I'm 47. So this was all I had right here 5 years ago. And now
you can speed it up if you do the Harry Mushalot thing.
Yeah, no doubt. Is it Mushalot? Is that how you say it? Because I looked it up. I did the narration on that and I just called him Muchalat. So if it's Mushalot, I need to go back and redo that. I'm embarrassing myself.
I have no idea.
Incredible story, though. If you guys want to hear that, go and subscribe to the Shudder right now, and you can hear that last story of Mushalot Harry. It's an incredible tale. What's the other one I put in there? Another Bigfoot classic. Wasn't Ape Canyon.
Albert Osman.
Albert Osman. I did Albert Osman. That was a long one. I did that one by itself. It's 30 minutes long. But I did the telling that John Green did when John Green wrote about. I just did the entire thing. It's 30 minutes long, but it's incredible.
I flew up into Toba at one time and looked around that area with my plane. Spent 2 days actually searching for that bull that he said he was held captive in, and had a couple of helicopters on standby over at Camel River. And anyway, I got a whole chapter about that in my book, because I was up there with Peter Byrne, Al Berry, and a cameraman, and it was interesting, but we come to a different conclusion than John Green. In fact, I talked to John Green about it, because he interviewed him 30 years later.
67.
This happened in 1924. He didn't interview him until the 50s, early 50s, and I think we're out of time. So,
well, it was published in I think it was 67. He published it, but I don't know when he did the interview.
1953, I think it was.
53.
I think so. But yeah, I think probably Albert Ostman just looked at a map, and because it didn't make sense. The things he said happened according to John Green's book, The Apes Among Us. When I was looking at it, because we went down to 1,000 feet in a plane. I even landed back there on a rock bed, and we scoured the area. But from 1,000 feet up, you couldn't see the boats in the inlet. I mean, it just, things didn't quite add up. I think John I thought that he was lying, but I said, I don't know. I'm not accusing him of lying. He just might have been mistaken.
It was a long time after.
It was so long as 30 years later. He might have there's so many inlets up there. It could have been so many different ones. And but no, I believe the story. I just don't know about the Toba Inlet part.
Right. Well, he does say I was at least 1,000 feet up, and I could see the boats.
Right.
And
that didn't pan out right there from Toba Inlet. Of course, he had walked a ways back from there already, from where the Indian let him off. It's something to think about and look at. The other one's Fred Beck, from Ape Canyon. I did
that one. I did Fred Beck. I did his son's telling of it.
And he said till the day he died that there was something paranormal about him, because this was going on. They knew these things were around quite some time before that rock incident happened, but he'd see the tracks, and the tracks would just stop, disappear. Well, the answer to that is in physics, and it's the mass converting to energy. It has no more density, so it wouldn't leave a track. So things like that can happen. I know I used to write people off too that said tracks way just disappeared. Well, it's a hoax then. Well, not necessarily. It's called density, and it happened to me. My daughter seen one. We had an experience going on, and we found the trackway, and all of a sudden they just stopped. Tree, you look up the tree, because they jumped to a tree, they jumped to a rock. Where'd they go? Right. No answer other than.
Well, I love those classics. Anyway, I did all the classics I could find: William Rowe, Ruby Creek, Titmus. I did his little account he had there. So you can find all those on the Shudder. Go subscribe. But hey, it's been a great show. So glad you gentlemen decided to join us here. Everybody go, all the links are in the description. Go to ronmorehead.com. You'll be able to get any one of his books right there. Make sure you go to Quest for the Wild Man Expedition on GoFundMe. Put your $5 in there. More would be greatly appreciated, I'm sure. But that $5 minimum on that GoFundMe, I figured that one out. And let's help Justin get that trip going. Thank you, gentlemen, for showing up here tonight. It's been an honor.
Thank you, and happy 100th.
Thank you. Once again, go subscribe to Hidden Existence so you can catch that Saturday show. And go subscribe to the Shudder. That's SHUDDER, not TTER. That's like,
hope everything works out good for you, Justin. Excuse me for butting in. But
that's okay. No,
I wish you the best.
Ron, you're coming out for 2 weeks, right?
I got something else going on this summer, but thank you. It'd be a good venture. Of course, you get helicoptered in. I don't know how much you travel around, but you need someone to watch your back, and someone just to know. You need two people.
Well, thank you, Jake. Yes, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much. And I'm going to Paramount Portal right now, so you guys go do that. Thank y'all for showing up. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you, Kerry. Daniel, thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Thanks a lot.
See you, everyone. Stay healthy.
I'll holler at you, Justin. We'll see.